So, Jessica, is this your first visit to Albania?
It is, actually.
And did you have any preconceptions before? And what have your thoughts been since you've been here?
So I have quite a lot of friends who come originally from Albania, since we have quite a large diaspora in Sweden.
So you've heard how wonderful it was, how good the weather is, the food.
Exactly. So my friends have been telling me for years, you have to come to Albania.
Yeah.
So now I'm finally here. But it's beautiful and it's warm, much warmer than in Sweden. And lovely food and nice people.
It met your expectations.
For sure.
Maybe exceeded them.
I will come back for vacation.
That was going to be my next question. You're going to come back on holiday and not for work.
Definitely. Everyone is telling me you have to come back for vacation.
Now, I want to ask, Sweden has been in the EU for 30 years. Albania has been a candidate country for quite a long time. Eddie Rama, last week, I think it was, he said Albania is going to join the EU in 2 years. And I love the ambition. Now, I want to ask you, as much as you can from your personal point of view, what you see, what you feel, what you experience. Do you think that's plausible? And then the second part of the question is, from a political point of view, do you think this is doable?
Well, you know, it's a very ambitious timetable, for sure. But I like that. I like that Albania is very ambitious. And what I hear from the commissioner in charge, Marta Kos, for enlargement, she's saying that it is realistic. So, you know, I can only cheer for this and really just saying, you know, that it's up to Albania to do the necessary reforms and keep up the pace. And we really need front runners, which Albania is an example of. So Albania can also inspire other countries. So I'm hoping that they can make it.
You say it's just up to Albania. I think certainly there was a time where it was also, there was a lack of momentum and maybe political will in the EU as well, you know, and I think that has somewhat disappeared since the war in Ukraine. And then in the last 6 months as well, I've seen sort of a renewed interest in, do you think there's now more political will at the EU level for expansion and for Albania to join?
For sure. I mean, there was, going back, there was some kind of enlargement fatigue and lack of discussion. But I would say after the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, that there has really become a new momentum for Ukraine, for Moldova, for the Western Balkans. And we really need to seize this momentum and make use of it. And that's what I see that Albania is doing. But it's really important just to keep up the pace and continue the important reform work.
Now, you've met quite a few people today. I believe you've met the Prime Minister as well. We're just about to walk past his office. What do you think, you know, what do you see as Albania's main obstacles? You know, where does it still need to do a lot of work? And then also, where do you see that it's really made progress?
I mean, Albania has come quite far already, but what I think is important now is to continue the work. I mean, the fundamental issue in joining the EU is about fundamentals. It's about the judiciary reform. It's about the work that has already been done on the reform of the judiciary system, on SPAK being introduced. And it's really important to continue that work and be really clear about the independence of these organizations.
And that brings me on to my next question. SPAK has been quite busy of late. Actually, at Euronews, we do surveys every month, and we use an external company to conduct the surveys. And in our most recent one, we asked how much trust citizens have in SPAK. Now, in November 2022, only 14% of respondents said that they trusted the work of SPAK. Now that's 42%, over 42%. And over 70% say they believe it's doing good work. You know, this is huge. It's actually now become the most trusted institution in the country. It used to be the US Embassy. It's now SPAK. How does that make you feel? From sort of an EU perspective, you know, this was an EU-backed initiative. And as you said, judiciary, justice, getting rid of corruption, this is a fundamental part of Albania's path.
Well, I would say that sort of proves that this is really important. In the process of becoming a member in the European Union, that it's really important to do this reform of the judiciary system, and the fact that the public has such a high support for this, I mean, that's amazing, and just proves that it's important to continue.
Is this something, you know, you can take back to Sweden and can speak to other countries about, you know, this? I mean, SPAK has been busy. There are several high-profile people behind bars at the moment being investigated. Is this evidence of SPAK doing what it's supposed to be doing? Is this something you'll be talking to people in Europe about?
I mean, having an independent judiciary system, that is trustworthy, tackling corruption. All this is at the core of the enlargement process. And it's important also for me to go back to the Swedish citizens or to other countries in the EU, being able to point very clearly that Albania is really doing its work here. And that is also what makes Albania a front runner, because it inspires other countries to do what is necessary, but also very difficult. This is a difficult process, but it's really important that it is being done.
Now, aside from justice, are there any other areas that you've identified that Albania really needs to work on? Like, for me, like agriculture is a big one.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge process, and there are so many clusters and chapters and whatnot in the process. Just to give one example, where Sweden also is a big supporter in reform support, is going back to environment and climate.
Yeah,
Huge topic, complex topic, and it takes years. Yeah. So I'd say that's sometimes a topic that doesn't get the most attention, but by those doing the work, it's one of the most complicated areas. So it's really important to start early and do it very thoroughly. And here Sweden is a big provider of support also.
You know, what's the view of Sweden when it comes to the sort of carrot and stick approach? Obviously, we can't expect Albania, it's been a democracy for 30-something years, to fulfill all the criteria. You know, there has to be an element of, okay, you've done well here, you still need to do a lot here, you've got lots of work to do. At what point does Sweden sort of say, okay, you can join now, but you have to work on this quickly?
Well, you know, it's a process with its own methodology. I was at the conference in October when we opened the first cluster of negotiations with Albania, a big moment. And we are really supporting for another openings of new clusters this spring. So the Commission basically does its assessments chapter or cluster by cluster, sort of when the country is ready. And that's I mean, everything comes back to merits. It has to be a merit-based approach, which we are always saying in Europe and in the EU. But that basically means that when the country, in this case Albania, has done its reform or has a plan, then you open the cluster. And that's how it has to work.
And can I ask, what is Sweden's message to politicians been today? The people you've met with, what have you been sort of saying to them, repeating to them?
I've been telling everyone that I have met today that Sweden is really supportive of Albania becoming a member, and that we see huge benefits for Albania, for the Albanian people in this process, but also for the EU. We want now more than ever unity on our continent, a strong Europe, and Albania becoming a member is a part of that, of strengthening Europe. So that's my main message. We're very positive, we're very supportive, but also that it's up to Albania now to do the reform work and stick to it, even though it's a complicated and sometimes difficult process.
And did you know that Albania and Kosovo are the most pro-EU countries in Europe, I believe? Even out of EU members.
It's amazing numbers.
Over 97% of the population.
Yeah.
And another thing which is really interesting, as far as I'm aware, we don't have any parties that are EU skeptic or anti-EU, you know, whether it's the right, the left, the centre, all the small parties, they are all extremely EU focused, which I think is quite rare. There's not many other countries that are like that. Most countries have a EU, I mean, from the UK, that's a very sore subject for me, you know. But that said, in the last couple of years, this approval rating, this trust rating in the EU has dropped a little tiny bit. And I think that people have become a bit worried that it's never going to happen. They don't see progress. They don't understand about clusters and opening chapters and growth plans. They're not really sure. It's all just big words, you know, it's not tangible things that affect their lives. What message do you have for Albanian people who might be a bit EU hesitant because they don't think anything's happening?
Well, first of all, when I see the numbers, I'm impressed by the vast support for EU membership among the public and among political parties. We have good numbers in Sweden as well, but the Albanian numbers are fantastic. No, but I think it's important to stress all the opportunities and advantages of becoming a member, being a part of the single market, becoming a member one day. That means that you can also, you know, take part in Erasmus, I mean, studying in other countries. You can roam for free. I mean, that is, you know, surf or make phone calls without extra charges. So, I mean, it comes down to the small things and the big things of becoming a member. So I think we need to speak more about the advantages, but also I think include the society in the process of becoming a member. You need a whole of society approach. It's not just a political thing of becoming a member. It's a societal thing where you need to engage the public and different actors in the process, because the process itself is important during the transition.
And progress is happening.
Yeah.
The growth plan, the Western Balkan growth plan, you know, it's not that nothing's happening. There are things that are happening.
Exactly.
So you said in the spring, maybe there's another chapter opening. Which chapter would this be exactly?
It depends on the reform pace, of course, and where Albania does the fastest progress. But we're hoping for several clusters to be open in the spring. First, there will be one opportunity in March, April, and then one later on closer to the summer. So we're pushing for several openings here.
And I heard you're off to Montenegro tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes? Is that your first time in Montenegro?
It is, it is. So a lot of firsts right now. But that's also why I am both here and in Montenegro, because we really want to show the Swedish support and presence. Going back to your earlier question about how to motivate the public and seeing that things are actually happening. It is happening. There is a momentum, and we are so many EU countries really supporting for the EU enlargement.
And Montenegro and Albania, do you think they could join at the same time? Do you see them on a similar footing in terms of progress?
So Albania and Montenegro are really front runners. Many are pointing towards these two countries. And I think it's quite realistic to see that both of these countries can be one of the earliest to join if the reform work is being carried out. And what I really also like is that they can inspire other countries to do their work as well. And that's also one important
I was
point.
in Montenegro yesterday. You're going to love it. And it's warmer than here as well. Yeah.
Lovely.
I even got sunburn, you know.
I think it's going to rain, but we'll see.
Oh,
We'll see.
no. I hope it doesn't. My last question. Is there anything you want to share with the public, a final message for the people watching?
So I just, think in these times with geopolitical uncertainty, with war on our continent, it's more important than ever. With the European unity, sticking together, doing more on defense, doing more on cooperation. Enlargement is one part in this, and really making sure that Europe can come together.
A crucial part.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.